Hello, 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 hello. Not sure if anybody's around right now. It's almost 3 o'clock, 2:47. So I just thought I'd pop in to have a chat as I was reviewing a lot of stuff today, and I was like, I was feeling into a funk, getting myself into a little funk, and I thought, I love coming on my lives. I'm not very good at pre-recording things and putting it up. I'm much better when I do lives, and the interactions that I get, and that's just how I work. Looking at so much today, and then looking at a lot to do with the astrology and things coming up, and one of the things is that you have to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling. That's going to be number one. Hello, Shar. Hi, Junlee. You really have to allow yourself to feel your feelings. A lot of people, a lot, I don't know a lot, but a couple people have mentioned to me about, oh, but you have to transcend your feelings or transcend your chart or move beyond and come into that. But I am such, I get that. I really, really get that. But I'm also a realist, and I've come to realize I'm a realist. I come to realize that I want to know things. I love the spiritual world, and I love how it helps me and guides me through the craziness that's happening in the world. But I also look at, I was just looking at on YouTube. I think it was Astrology Hub or one of the another that they don't touch anything to do with what's happening in the world. They will sort of glass over it. A few astrologers, they don't glass over it, and I love them for it. But there's quite a few because they want to be politically correct. They want to be woke. And I don't want to be woke. I'm sorry. I want to be awakened, but I sure in the fuck don't want to be woke. Um, I'm a very old fashioned type of person, I guess you're going to call me now. And when I look at, as I say, the writing is on the wall with what is coming, how it's coming, and how it's going to unfold. It's that we don't know. That is still being written, as they'll say. But a lot of things that I've watching how the players are playing the game, how the chess game is going, and some of the things I'm seeing are like, oh wow, this is really coming to fruition. And this is really where, Biden came out yesterday, was talking about food shortages. And I thought, okay, good going, buddy. Um, this is where he's, telling people have to prepare. We're all in it together. Well, I don't know. I don't think the billionaires and millionaires are in this, but it's probably going to be usually the poor people and the lower middle class that are going to be having to fend for what's going on. But he's talking about, food shortages coming out. And a lot of this is going to hit not only, here in North America, but Europe is going to get hit very badly with this. And especially with a lot of crop shortages and planting, etc., fertilizer and all of that. In the States, they're saying out of plots, I don't know how big a plot is, but out of say if they have 4 plots, they may be planting 2 out of the 4 or 1 out of the 4, depending how big their farm is. Now, and usually they would have planted all 4 plots with alternate crops. So some of them are unable to be doing that this year because this is sowing season now, planting season. And they even came out with a in the United States, and I thought this was funny, where if you are so much overweight that you can go on starvation days. So you're going to be hearing this, coming out about, this is going to be a great way to lose weight. This is going to be a great way to get your health back into alignment. They're going to be eating less, etc. And don't worry about a 28-day starvation diet. So That's the other thing that I found quite funny. And I said, as I'm thinking about Uranus, because Uranus is really, he is the energy that's in Taurus and dealing with a lot to do with everything in the mundane world, the farming, our relationships, things that are mundane. Um, and how it's, all of this is coming up and shaking up. So there's a lot that, through this all, some of it is just crazy. It feels crazy that we're in this energy. It feels crazy that we're in this energy. And I've been saying for a long time that it feels like we're in this prelude or this energy of World War II. And this is where when I'm looking into the history of World War II, there's a lot of things that were at play and a lot of things that were happening behind the scenes that we didn't know about till later. But there was a buildup. There was a buildup where Roosevelt, was saying that he didn't want to be active in the war, didn't want to get involved in the war, yet he was building up his military. They weren't worried about Pearl Harbor because it was shallow and things, unaware as to what Japan was actually going for to bomb Pearl Harbor. A lot of things that led up to Pearl Harbor. It was on a Sunday. People weren't very aware of what's going on. That was a day that they sort of took off and they went and spent time with their families. And so not a lot of people were on the base or on site. So that, to me, when we are looking at things that are happening within the world, it's like it was, I don't want to call it a sacrifice, but maybe it was a sacrifice that they made as an excuse for them to hop into the war. And I was wondering, like, well, what would be the sacrifice today, within the United States? And I was like, okay, it usually happens on the West Coast. So something along the West Coast. So Washington State, who knows? I don't know, but I'm going to throw that out there. It was just a thought that came. But this is where I'm feeling like, especially with this astrology and with the astrology this year, and we're starting to head into, as we build up to this new moon, and this new moon is going to hit Chiron in Aries. The Chiron in Aries is all about the wounded healer, the wounded soldier. Chiron was a warrior and he fought and he killed and he went out there and he was the warrior and then who became immortal. He's the warrior that goes out, but he comes back to help to heal the wounds, to help to heal the wounds of the war torn and the people that have gone out to fight. And this is in all areas of our life. Now, when Chiron was discovered, it was in the 70s, right about where he is now, in Aries. And this is looking at what happened in the 70s and the energies of the 70s. I know I know you guys, I'm bouncing all over the place, but there's so much crazy information in my head right now. I just have to get it out. So bear with me if I'm going off on a tangent and you just don't get what I'm saying. That's fine. Chiron in Aries was in the 70s. So the 70s was a crazy time. People wore bell bottoms. They, sort of laid back. They didn't really want to deal with anything. But the 70s to me, being a kid who grew up in the 70s, I found it kind of icky. I found the 70s icky. The reason being, it just didn't feel like things, even if you watch the movies, everybody was depressed. It felt like, there wasn't enough money. Interest rates were really high. It was difficult to buy a house. People were struggling. There was layoffs, all of this in the 70s. And that's where Chiron was. So there was a healing that had to be done within our society. It was after the 60s, which was all free love and the Vietnam War. And we were coming out of this war. We were coming out of a war, per se. So here we have Chiron there again. And the new moon is going to be hitting Chiron. So we have the sun and the moon that are going to be on top. The sun is exalted in Aries. And this is where we're coming in to look at where are our wounds? Where is it that we need healing within our own lives? And that's within Aries. And it's a very fiery, passionate energy too. And it also wants to get going. And sometimes it doesn't want to look at everything. We also have with that a Neptune Jupiter coming in. And the Neptune Jupiter conjunction that's coming up on the 12th of April is one that is going to be very huge. It's one where Jupiter, the sky god, and the god of the sea, Poseidon, are coming together. They're coming together to look at things, and sometimes we can get very lost in it. So we have a sort of lost energy as we're building up to this new moon as well. So feeling lost, not paying attention to everything, being kind of laid back. Oh yeah, everything's going to be fine. We're going to be great. Mandates are all up. Everything's hunky dory. This energy is coming in, and we're going to be shooken up in some way. There's going to be some kind of shake up. There's going to be some kind of energy that's really going to get us to awaken in some crazy way. And I feel like there's, especially with the water and Neptune, and especially with Jupiter and Neptune, these guys are warriors. These guys aren't nice either. I mean, the dark side of Poseidon and um, Zeus, these guys can be real assholes. I mean, they went around and they took what they wanted to take. They were the kings. They were well, they're bigger than kings. They were the gods. I am a god. I'm going to do what I want, and they're coming together. So two brothers coming together very close in Neptune is kind of like, and it's near the ending, the last decade of Neptune is very, I'm gonna say, very disruptive. This is where I feel like very erupting, something coming up and something erupting, because it's two brothers. Now, if anything, I have, three brothers. I had three brothers. I have two now. One has passed away. But when when I was little, and my brothers, if there's an altercation with the boys, and they came together, and things like, sometimes they could get along really well, but other times it was explosive. Something happened. The back door broke, or somebody got thrown through a wall, or some glass broke. Something crazy happened. So when you're getting two brothers together in energy of the sea and of the turbulence, and one is the ruler of illusions and dreams, you can see where things can go a little bit sideways. It could be very elusive and beautiful, but are you really paying attention and grounded in the world that you are in and dealing with the world that's going on with you? Or are you being dragged out to sea and into the elusiveness of the disruptions of what is unfolding? And that's part of with the food shortages and others that they're talking about, and even nuclear. And if you think about the nuclear, the next thing you come into is, oh, well, where's Pluto? And where is Uranus? Because Uranus and Pluto are nuclear, especially Uranus, uranium. He is nuclear. And he's going to be coming up to 15 degrees in a little bit here. Not yet, but he's going to be squaring off the 0 degrees of Aries. Why is that important? Well, not squaring off. It's going to be a semi-sec. It's going to be semi-square to that 0 degrees, and that's where Fukushima happened when Uranus entered Aries. Is when you had the Fukushima happen. So there's some kind of explosion. So between now and I'm going to see between now and July, I know there's some things coming up in August or October, November. I know shit's going to hit the fan. Something is happening in November, but in between now and July, there is going to be some kind of crazy explosion. Whether that's going to have to do with a volcanic explosion, I don't know if it's going to be Mount Shasta or Mount St. Helen. something's going to be devastating in that area. And within that something's happening within Washington State and into right by the Canadian border. So something there, I feel, is going to happen that's explosive. And I feel like this is also going to be bringing in um, where that's going to activate for us to go into the war, or the war that's going to be the pull for us to actually step into World War III. The other thing is where the EU, in the EU chart, when the EU was formed, it was formed in 2016 underneath a lot of Scorpio energy, and Jupiter and Scorpio and Mercury retrograde. And I feel like that has to do with everything and all the ploys that are going on right now and the pulls. There's going to be, we saw England already pulled away, and we are seeing where even Germany's doing some crazy funky things right now. They're building up their military, and Britain has built up their military since 2020. They have a naval, all of a sudden, they have a very strong naval uh, force. So we're seeing a buildup of energies that are there. And I feel like with what's going on with Russia and with the EU, I can see a breakup going there because people are going to start wanting to do their own or coming to what they're going to do. Now, I know and the euro's really doing shitty. This is where I see the EU falling apart, or this is going to be an excuse with the war that the EU is going to fall apart, and that's going to bring in crypto coin and some kind of cryptocurrency. I'm not sure what that looks like yet, but I know that's going to be happening because right now, over 60 branches of the Lloyd Bank in England just shut down. We had a run on at RBC this last week and they're having glitches in their with their computer because people are pulling their money out. So people are pulling money out, which when people start pulling money out, the computers go down so that you don't have details of the person's account, so you can't give them their money. So that's the other thing that you're going to be seeing is like a lot of computers going down within banks, so people can't get their money out because the banks don't want you to do a run on on the money, right? So that's the other part that's coming in. So with this, there's a lot of mixture, and of course, the South Node is in Scorpio. Scorpio causes a Scorpio South Node disruption, craziness. This is where you're going to find craziness with money and oil. And when it comes to something within this and within all of this, this is where I also get a nuclear explosion coming in. Now, many people have not been keeping up on what nuclear energy is or what nuclear bombs are. They're not like it was in Hiroshima and when they dropped the bombs. They have mini nukes that they set off. So there's things coming around with that, and I can see that happening between now and July. If not, then it's going to be in October with the next eclipses. So things that are coming in. And this isn't, I know a lot of somebody, I got two of you here, Julie and Charlene. So this isn't to scare you, but this is to awaken people to say, hey, you know what? This is the energy that's coming in. The writing's on the wall. Right now, I mean, our prime minister got thrown out, our prime minister looks like a bloody fucking doofus. And he has to follow suit. If he doesn't follow suit with what the rest of Europe's doing or what England's going to do, there's going to be huge backlash upon Canada. And his chart does not look good either. So when I look at Justin Trudeau's chart, I mean, he's a little bit of a dickhead and he's very obstinate. He must have been a very stubborn child to raise because he is a Capricorn with a triple trine. And he's just like, this is the way I want it, and I want it this way, and very unapologetic for whatever he does. So this is a very stubborn child. He even got up even after nobody wanted to hear him speak, right? That when nobody wanted to hear him speak, they wanted to They just left. People are saying to buy potassium tablets if there's a new. You should have them already. June Lee, I think June Lee and I both worked at Community Natural Foods when Fukushima hit in 2016, and we had to buy and they're hard to get. I don't think you can get them anymore. Is thyroid potassium packages, and a lot of people were buying them up like crazy. But that's a short-term solution, because you can't take too many potassium tablets over time. It's the tablets that they did give out in Chernobyl. They're passing out, and that's to help with the thyroid and doing with the thyroid. It's not going to help you from nuclear poisoning, but the nuclear explosions that they do aren't like that. It's a lot of there's been technology since that. It's like nuclear plants. Nuclear plants are safer today than they ever have been. And the technology for it is safer than it ever has been. They're not like a Chernobyl plant, nor like Fukushima. Fukushima wasn't updated, so that's why they had a lot of issues and stuff, and with all the seawater and everything coming in. So definitely have your potassium tablets. But these, are coming in, but also with I keep on seeing volcanic explosions, volcanoes exploding. Um, and we have a lot of solar flare. We just missed a solar flare just missed the earth, and that was the day Japan actually, I think it was last week, had an earthquake. So Japan had another earthquake. So this is, we have this is natural occurrences. This is cosmic energy that's coming in. We also have the pole shifting that's going on. So there's a lot of different energies that are coming in and shaking up the earth. Some of it, like, you can't control the sun flares that are going on. I mean, they're trying to. I know chemtrails are up in and around California, Oregon, and Washington State. A lot of people are reporting chemtrails coming up. So trying to control the weather and bullshit and all that kind of stuff. So we have things along there that's going on. So there is, as I'm looking at my notes as I was going, there is a lot that's coming up for this year, and the shit's starting to hit the fan. People have asked me how long we're going to be in this, and I say to 2025. I think that's where we're going to start seeing a release with things. We're also coming where there's going to be Neptune and Pluto making, also Neptune, Uranus coming up and conjuncting the North Node, which also brings in a lot of crazy energies. But this is where we have to look at history, understanding history. All wars are fought in Europe. So all wars are usually fought in Europe. They always have been. The big wars have always been fought in Europe. And this is to get the countries back to the little countries, to what they were. And the reason nobody's stepping into the Ukraine right now, and they've already given, I don't know, I think they've got to stop giving them fucking money. But anyways, that's Russian territory. The Ukraine has always been a part of Russia. So nobody's going to step in there, because it's like they recognize Ukraine. He is a part of the UN, but he's not a part of NATO. So it isn't until Russia really steps onto somebody else's doorstep or does something, or somebody else does. We're not too sure what China's going to do at this time. So there's a lot of wheels and mechanisms that are going on, and but by the end of April, I think May, we're going to get more of a vision or more of a sight, especially as we go into the Taurus energy and we get closer to the eclipses. and where the eclipse is. And part of the eclipses, I think, are going through Russia, if I am not mistaken, and through that area. So wherever the eclipses touch, that's usually where there's some kind of disruption or some kind of craziness that happens within that area. Just like how it went through Wuhan, it did. It cut the United States in half. Um, when you had the one in the States. So I don't know where I was going with all this, but there is. It's just HSBC. Here's a great one. HSBC is now advertising that DNA will be your data. That they're advertising that they want to use your DNA for you to be able to access your accounts through some kind of either a microchip or some format in order for people to be able to get in to access your chips. So Sweden's all over this. They're right into this and loving the whole thing about having a chip placed in your right in here for you to scam. And Elon Musk is all over the chip in your head. So wanting to get people hooked up so that they have your data. And looking at your data. So a couple things that I think that we're going to be looking into is things to do with the carbon lockdown. Yeah, they're having a party. And things to do with the carbon lockdown and looking at how much people travel and how much they are paying for their travel now and how they're wanting to like in Calgary here they're really pushing green, so she really wants more bikes out. She wants to see more people on bikes. I mean, this is Calgary for crying out loud. But anyways, more cycling, more mopeds and motorcycles. But when wintertime comes, it's -40. Nobody's going to be riding their bike except some lunatic out there riding their bike. But there's going to be quite a push for that. And also a push for if you have extra cars that if you want to rent out your car. So for people who don't want to own a car anymore, which I can understand. I mean, right now, we're looking at our vehicle and how much it's going to cost to get it fixed, plus our monthly payments, insurance. It's just ridiculous, with everything. So I don't know. It's just crazy. I would ride a moped. I did when I lived in Spain. Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, yeah, mopeds are great when the weather is nice and your roads aren't filled with rocks. So after they clean the streets and everything, mopeds are great. But Spain doesn't get down to -30, So I mean, they have a little bit nicer weather than per se California or per se than Calgary or Moose Jaw or potholes. So that's the other thing. So, I mean, it's interesting because it's a lot of people are making, big, for change and everything. They're usually the millionaires and billionaires because they don't have to change too much. But the other thing is that I feel like they're, especially with Putin and looking at what he's doing, like he has resources. He's not in debt. He's stocked up on gold since 2018. Like he's been stocking up on gold. And the craziness is as much as what the United States is, I don't know if the United States is going to align with horses and the city can clean the shit up. Good luck in that. They have a hard enough time in cleaning up other stuff, let alone cleaning up the horse poop. Although some other people might want to come in and use it as fertilizer, get the manure, free manure. This is where, because in every world war, the United States has gone with Russia. And And every time, so there's something there, and I'm not sure what China's up to. China just reported that they are, um, when it comes to food crisis, they're going to be into a food crisis that they're shorted by 60%. Now, China doesn't really have a lot of fresh water. They have, they have a coal issue. They did buy the coal. They are getting coal from Russia right now. So they're having their little issue, and they were low on diesel. So, and their diesel that they're getting is from Russia. So they've made some deals there too with Russia. But United States, I know that they're not, it seems like they're playing dumb, but they're not stupid. It's just not, they're not stupid. And the thing is that people can be stupid. Like, they don't remember their history, or they don't look at history of what's happened before. And there's just some crazy things that are going on, especially in the States, and some of the things that, laws or rules that, that they're starting to implement in the States right now too, are kind of funky as well. So there's something that feels sinister in there, right now in Washington state, they passed a law in one of the counties, in the school district, and it had to do with discipline. And the type of race-based school discipline, that's what it's called. So it caused an uproar. So that a race-based school discipline is, if you're a little white kid and you did something wrong, and a little native kid or black kid did the same thing, the little white kid would get the big punishment or be expelled, and the little black kid or the little native kid would have been like, "Oh, you know what? It's okay. It's not your fault. You're black and you're native. So you couldn't help it. But you're white. You should know better." That's race-based discipline. So that is being implemented in Washington state. Washington state's a fucked up state. It really is. They're the ones that, when Alaska has all the oil, and they wanted to build some refineries and have refineries in around Washington, they said, no, 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 that's not environmentally sound. So they send the oil over, or they were sending it, you know, over to China to be refined in their clean, lovely factories in China, because we know how up to date they are with their factories, and then sent back. Now that's environmentally sound. And so Washington state, that's why I think Washington, there's some crazy things happening in Washington state, and I think they're going to um it's like almost going to be the sacrifice state. They're going to sacrifice it for whatever reason. With that. And and there's other sort of outlaying things with California, Oregon, and Washington, that they made a pact pre-COVID. They made a pact pre-COVID. So, and I know I talked about that before, but they had some kind of pact to form, and they are the ones that, besides New York State, have been the harshest with when it comes to mandates and things to do with the shot, to do with masks and the whole bit. But I think there's something going to happen there within the next while, within this year, I feel, because there's such a pull. And when you get legacy television and all the big buyout news companies, the fake news companies, all talking about nuclear war, or talking about cryptocurrency and things like that, shit, something's coming up. So they're priming people and getting people ready. What does that mean as a spiritual person? That means you be aware of it, you don't hide from it, but you still have to walk this earth. You still have to live on this earth. You still have to feel your feelings. Like I said at the beginning, you got to feel the feelings. Are you frustrated, scared over? Okay, what are you going to do? What are the things that you can do to ground yourself? It comes back. How am I grounding myself? How am I dealing with it? Do I need a timeout? Do I need, where can I go to just zone out for a while? And I don't have to really pay attention to a whole bunch of bullshit. You may still feel it because the energy's still there, right? The energies are still there. So that's where you put, your bubble, you take, your vitamins, minerals, and all of that kind of fun stuff, and making sure that you are keeping, helping with your anxiety and stress and working with your anxiety and stress. That's why I got a new meditation starting up on April 4th. So, joining my morning meditation, that working, and we're going to be working with the white Tara. Doing daily meditations can really help with the vibration, helps, with the flow, helps you get going. And so doing daily meditations, somebody asked me about the mantras, and like, I don't feel them working. Well, you may not feel them working right away. That's why when we have set off to do mantras now, I do them for 2 months, so that by the end of the second month, you can really feel the changes that are happening. This last one was with joy and bliss, and it really helped me, and I feel it's helping those who have been along the journey in dealing with a lot of things that are going on, and not falling into the craziness, as with it. I, you know, when I look at a lot of the information that comes through, I'm interested in it. I'm interested to know what's happening. I'm interested to understand the flow, and how that, as above, so below. Whatever's going on in the sky is going to have a reflection on the earth. And I'm seeing that more and more and more. And when I see it, I'm just like, wow, this is beautiful. This is a beautiful dance. This is preparing us. And it's being for us on earth, for many of us, we've been living in a time where we haven't been paying attention to the earth. We haven't been paying attention to a lot of things in our lives. And this is shaking us up to really take a look. Does it take war to shake us up? Unfortunately, it does. And it does every single time. After World War One, it was a horrific war. It was a trench war. After World War One, there was poverty everywhere, and many people left Europe and moved to Canada and the United States because they're looking for a better life. After World War Two, that was a war that really got us to really look at life, and really came back to the nuclear family. That's where the nuclear family came, because it was kind of a nuclear war. And this war that's coming up is really a digital war, along with yes, there's going to be more, I think, nuclear. I don't think Russia has pulled out his stuff yet. Has he devastated the Ukraine? I really think he has. I mean, we're not getting as much information out of Russia, but you know, I don't think he's hurting any. I really don't, and I don't think he's losing. He's holding all the aces right now, and there's going to be some kind of deal that's going to be made, and it's going to have to do, and I think it's going to have to do with Russia and the United States. And of course, it's where the breakdown or the breakup of NATO in some way. So NATO being broken up, or something coming in, because they want to get rid of, like as Putin would, Putin will get rid of the Rothschilds and all of those guys, and Schwab. He doesn't want to deal with those people. And I don't think the United States wants to deal with them either. They've had too much control for too long. So this is a changing of hands. This is a changing of a time where many who've had it for so long, it's getting broken up. So there is a breakup happening that is there. It only shakes the blinds some of us have, and been preparing for years. Exactly, Jen. And this is where um a reset. And it's funny, I think, was it in front of the UN in New York? There was a lion with with eagle's wings. This the beast with eagle's wings was placed, and it got such an uproar because that's Revelations, right? They had to take it down. They had to take it down. It was a beast with eagle's wings, and so that was one of the signs of, in Revelations, along with the chip, uh, cryptocurrency, and a few other things that were coming along, um, with that as well. So this is a time of change. This is a time. This is an ending of the times. Like it, like in 2012, in December 21st, 2012, there was an ending. That was an ending of that cycle. It ended, and a new cycle was beginning. So we're coming into this Mayan calendar as well, of an ending of a time. And that doesn't mean the world is ending. I mean, we would not have signed up for this if the world was ending. I'm sorry. We signed up for it because we're going to be carrying that light through as this war is going to unfold for us. And when different countries are starting to let people see their nuclear weapons, like, Rocket Boy set off a nuclear weapon, and he sent it out way out into space, and then it diverted, and he wanted to see where it was land. They're testing all their missiles. South Korea's testing. Germany's asking, starting to build up their forces. The United States has already built up their forces, but the United States is also, and this is okay, two things on this one. One, um, they're calling for more forces in the Ukraine, and that only the men stay back to fight in this war and the women and children leave. There were men who said they were women, transgender, they identified as transgender. They weren't allowed to go, because if you still have a ding dong between your legs, honey, you're considered a man. So this is really going to cause a lot of trickles in the pond, because the LGBTQ plus community were an uproar of this. But this comes down to, it's like, you may feel like a woman, but you're biologically a man, so you have to fight. So they weren't allowed to leave. Also in the US, they lowered their recommendations for entering into the army. And so whenever they do that, you know that the draft is coming. I mentioned this years and years ago. The draft is coming. A ding dong. Yeah, so the little ding dong goes ding dong, ding dong. These little balls there, the little bells. Uh, this is where they dropped their, usually when they, when something happens, they didn't do the draft with Desert Storm or other ones. They would go by the last crew that went out, and what that status was, the status of those guys, how fit they were. This one, they dropped the they dropped the status because, they have a lot of little nerdy people out there. And it's not only the millennials, that the late millennials will be called up, but this is going into your Generation Z, all of the Pluto and Sagittarius kids, who are the ones who feel more justified in the world, whatever you want to call them, Gen Z, Gen whatever, um, that are coming in. So this is where the lower selective for services are also been dropped in the United States. You're going to be seeing that's going to come over, when as soon as England does it and starts with the drafting, so does Canada start with the drafting. Now, usually what happens, and we've already seen this happen, um, and this happened in World War II. This is why people should know their history. In World War II, you were allowed to sign up in the American Army, in the Canadian Army, or the British Army, or whoever were our allies. That's why in the UK, in Ukraine, they're asking for anybody who wants to sign up. They're allowing you to go over to the Ukraine to fight the war if you want to, right? You can go in there and volunteer and fight at this time. Um, it doesn't matter as long as you're part of that, the NATO, the allies, coming together. So that's going to be interesting as well. So we're going to be starting to see that, and I feel like that's going to be more of a push later on in the year into 2023. So, so we have a little bit of a build up there with everything. So we're in some fun times, people, some fun times. And I know, as I said before, it doesn't, oh, that was my daughter who called. Um, I'm just going to say yes. To drop off Mateus. It's like, yeah, drop him off. Um, so there's a lot that's unfolding for us all, and there's a lot that's unfolding um in our world at this time. The world needs prayers. Definitely. We all need prayers, but we also need a timeout, and we also need to focus on what is important in our lives. Right now in my life right now, my total focus has been on my husband and him getting well. That's a huge focus in our life. And he's doing a lot better. He's getting out, he's going for walks. That's part of our going to be part of our routine over the next while, where we have to do walks 3 times a day, little ones, just a couple blocks and stuff, and just to build up his stamina and really work with that. But in saying that, my booking in, where if people want to book in and buy the packages, which would be awesome because then I can schedule people in. Um, I can take people in. I'm still taking people, like, people can book in, but I have to schedule it around things. And I don't take anybody in the evening at all. I can't take anybody in the evening. And I only have a limited time, say in the afternoon. So my afternoons are between 1 and 3, through the weekdays, and then some weekends, not every weekend. It's all depending what we have planned with Steve. So my time has become very limited in doing readings, and that sort of has thrown me into a new way of looking at life, having to trust more God. Yes, trusting God, trusting the goddess uh, prosperity, and it's it's a whole new kettle of fish. Um, Before this all happened, it would be if something happened, or if Steve, say, was laid off, it would be where I could get out there and I could really hustle and get a lot of people in and do a lot of readings and do things like that. But I can't do that right now. I don't have the time because my time is taken up in other ways. So, I have a few clients that have already bought packages. Thank God. Thank you very much. And what we've done is that I can schedule time. As soon as I know the time and it's scheduled ahead, then we work around it and we do that. And I have ongoing clients that do that as well. And it's great because they can book when when I can fit them in. Some of them have a set time that they like, a certain, like every Monday, once a month on a Monday at 10 a.m. I know that. Then it's scheduled in. I have another lady who's every Thursday not every Thursday, but once a month or every 6 weeks on a Thursday at 10 a.m. I have that in. That's why I love the packages. Plus, the packages are cheaper than buying a 1 hour reading, on average. So the packages are there. I've posted it up on my Facebook. They're posted up on my um, website, thegurumama.com. And if somebody wanted, I would do up a payment plan with them too if they wanted to do the packages. Packages only, not for a 1 hour reading, a regular 1 hour reading. Um, So that's where I'm at with my business. I'm still here. Times for doing my lives are going to be all over the place. Like today, I kind of zoned out for a while. This afternoon, I just been feeling. I gotta admit, I've been feeling a little bit low. I've been feeling. Through this all, I think because of all the changes that are going on, you do go through a low period or feeling of depression. I definitely feel that, and it's just things change, and having to deal with those changes, and just realizing there's some things we weren't prepared for, and but I can't stress over what we weren't prepared for. I have to um carry on. That's basically it. I have to carry on. I can't be stressing over what I didn't do. I got to look at what I can do. And that's a huge lesson in itself, too, in looking at what I can do. So, the world, yes, we're heading into some extreme turbulent energy. Many of you guys don't want to hear that, but I want you to be prepared. When a president of the United States is already talking about food shortages, I would say the couple things that people have asked me to start. What should I stock up on? Flour, rice, pasta, dry goods. So if you can get packaged beans and things like that, kidney beans, black eyed peas, things like that, anything dried, lentils. If you don't like that stuff, then don't stock it. Stock it if you like it. Like I know how to make a lentil burger and things like that. I love it. But maybe you don't like lentils, then don't do lentils, okay? Soup mixes, you dried soup mixes. Stock up on that. Have, some make sure you got, if you're able to stock up on for a good month or so, at least, it'd be great if you're able to stock up for 6 months. That's ideal. Rice. Buy big bags of rice. Get the containers. You can get little oxygen packages that you can put in there, and those little things that when you buy a pair of shoes that keeps the moisture out. Those little things are really good to have. Sugar is going to be a commodity that is going to be hard to find, so you can get sugar, flour. You can can the flour, put it in cans so that it lasts longer, and then look at the kinds of packaged goods that you like. Then you go in. Coffee's the other one. Coffee and tea. Coffee, tea, and hot chocolate. Chocolate's gonna be a really hard one to find. Powdered milk, definitely powdered milk. I hate powdered milk. Anyways, powdered eggs. Things like that where you can stock up on because you may not be able to get it. I'm not saying this is to prepare. This is starting to prepare to get you to awaken. Um, I was spoiled when my mom used to use powdered milk all the time with 6 kids. You can can milk. Yes, you can. You can. There's Mom from the Funny Farm on TikTok. Go to Mom from the Funny Farm on TikTok. She's from Florida. She'll show you how to can milk. And it's usually homogenized milk that you can because it has a higher fat content. And homogenized milk has less sugar than what low fat milk does. Um, so there's that that you can do. So coffee and tea, things like that. Um, then looking at your dry goods, you can look at cereals, different types of cereals, oats, oatmeal, like your steel oats and things like that, to look at. You can make your own granola. Then you can look into your dried fruits. So do you like raisins and currants? Do you like dried cranberries? If you can't do it yourself, you can stock up on those types of things as well. Quinoa. Quinoa is another one. Can some of those already. So perfect. Quinoa is another one. Looking at quinoa and stuff like that, and having that stocked up for yourself. And freezer butter when it's on yes, freeze butter when it's on sale. That's perfect. You can butter too. And I saw a show today on canning butter where she melted down all her butter and she put it into jars and she canned it. So she canned it. And the reason why they're canning it in case the electricity goes down, that's why a lot of people are canning, is that if the grid goes down, then you have no freezer. So you can can bacon, you can can chicken and turkey and beef and all of that kind of stuff. And I know a lot of people are doing that now. And that's because if the grid goes down, you know, we're fucked, basically. And that's the other thing with a lot of the when we're looking at the nuclear explosions coming up, can actually put the grid down. But they know that's only going to be might stop the people, but it's not going to stop the guys in the boats and the guys shooting. So I save my jars for veggies. Perfect. Yeah. So things like that you can do. If you see turkey on sale, buy a turkey, cook it up in your slow cooker, take it apart and can it. Um, you can can potatoes. I have a whole shitload of potatoes. I don't have a pressure cooker. All right, to pressure cook for the cans. You can get cheap cans if you're looking for jars. You can go to Sally Ann, you can go to Value Village, you can go to any of the thrift shops. Sometimes they have them. And Canadian Tire has a shitload right now. So if you're looking, for that. So you want to use one. Do I want to use a pressure canner? If I had one, I would start using one definitely, but I don't have one right now. So I'm not really worried about it. I haven't canned in a long time. I'm a bad person. I give everybody else advice by not doing it. I have a lot of the bought canned items, and we also have flour and sugar and rice and things like that, lots of pasta and that. So, I can send you one. Oh, Charlene, I will love you. Charlene's like, I can send you one. Charlene's the pressure cooker fairy. Thank you. Um, these are the types of things that um, people need to look at and really start to stock up on. The other things is if you're able to, not everybody can do this, right? So this is a little bit at a time. I know this can cause anxiety for people. Like, oh my God, I gotta can all this stuff and they start freaking out. This isn't a freak out. This is just for you to be aware. Okay? This is starting off slow. Remember, we're a community. If you don't have, we can work it together. We can figure out how to get shit to you. All right? So that's the whole thing. If the shit hits the fan, we'll work things out. We'll make sure maybe everybody send me your addresses and I'll put you down in my address book and I'll make sure I'll be able to get notifications out to you and somehow. But there's always going to be a way. And I really believe that there's always going to be a way in order to get information out to people. Always. Somewhere, somehow, there's going to be a way to get information out. If things go down and we don't have the internet, man, what did we do before the internet? We sure in the hell got the information out to people. So there's always going to be a way. So honor that. Honor that with inside yourself. I just felt a shift in the energy just now. I just felt it. As soon as I said that, I felt a shift. So I know that's true. So honor that. And if you are planting a garden or doing seedlings, you know, that is awesome. That is awesome. I'm trying to do seedlings. They haven't sprouted yet. So tells you this is how bad my green thumb is. Um, follow the instructions. But this is where, looking at the things that you like. If you like tomatoes and stuff, go to the farmers markets. Start buying up things, that when you go there, onions, things like that. If you buy a shitload of garlic, you can dry your garlic, you can ground your garlic and make your own garlic powder. You can put your garlic into oils and stuff, and then you have a garlic oil, and and do your own garlic and do your own stuff. Same with onions. You could dry your onions out, make an onion powder and stuff. So same with tomatoes and dried tomatoes and things like that. So you can do that as well. And so there's many things that we can start to do and start to pile up. The worst case scenario, if you don't use it, you still got it. It's not going to waste, right? This isn't just because we are going to come into a food shortage. The people, our ancestors made sure there was plenty of food. My parents always made sure there was plenty of food in the house. Didn't matter. Always, always, always made sure there was plenty of food. It wasn't until in the late 60s and especially in the 70s that they started saying, oh, don't stock up on food, oh, don't be doing this, that's hoarding, that's bad. And then sort of people like, oh, you got to make sure there's enough for everybody. But the thing is our ancestors always made sure that they had food for the winter, made sure that they had, excess food in case anything happens. We could have a mass flood or an earthquake or a tornado or something that happens. Having food on hand is a good thing because maybe the grocery store gets knocked out because of the tornado or something. So, this is where it is getting us to awaken to say, hey, we got to start being a little bit more responsible for our lives and for our community. And how can we be more interactive within our community and help one another and help those around us? That's really a big part of the energies and in the awakening that we're going through, is that we're allowing for that uniqueness of each person, because not everybody's a gardener, not everybody's a canner, not everybody, but maybe somebody's really good at organizing it all and getting all the shit together. Maybe even forming a group where you can get a community kitchen somewhere and come together and do a whole salsa, and cook up some salsa, cook up, um, I don't know, applesauce. So this is where this energy's coming in and getting us prepared for money, getting us prepared in all areas of our life. And the other thing is make sure you got a first aid kit. I've been really getting things going on a first aid kit. Um, have a book or a reference book on herbs and for antibiotics and for things to do with infections and stuff, and what to do in case you get an infection and you can't get antibiotics. So you can buy some antibiotics. There are prepper places. The Canadian Prepper has information on that. And you can just go Google Canadian Prepper, and this cute little man comes out, and he's just adorable. And he's from Saskatchewan, uh, and he's a little bit behind in getting people's stuff out, but he's doing it. He's doing it. And we'll have information on how to find antibiotics. And if you are wanting to get antibiotics, just in case something happens. The thing is that a lot of times with medicines, they say expiry, but I worked in the whole food area for a long time. Expiry doesn't mean it's gone bad. It's just not as potent, but you can still use it. Um, I will use expired aspirin if I have to, or Tylenol or something. It doesn't mean that it's not good, or it's gone bad or moldy or something like that. It just means it's just not as potent as it was. So I have 4 gardens each year, and I ask people to help for a trade, and they would rather just buy. Well, there you go. Hey, you could post that out if you want to. Um, I have a girlfriend out in Crossfields, and I know she will be needing help out there on her 40 acres, and as things get going for her. So, um, you know, because she's doing a lot, and she's got sheep and llamas and all kinds of cute things. So yeah, this is where it's like if you need help with things, or needing help with, hey, I don't know how to do something, let's post it out and keep each other informed, you know, as much as possible. So Mom from the Funny Farm is good for pressure canning. She's got a lot of info and stuff like that out there. The Canadian Prepper is really good. He's got some information out there. He talks a lot about doomsday and stuff like that, but a lot I've been following him for a number of years. He's another guy that I've listened to, and I'm like, holy shit, you don't follow the astrology. He just knows things. He's really in tune as well. But that's the thing, is that you got to be in tuned. You got to be prepared. You can't hide under the covers. I'm sorry, it's not a duck and cover kind of thing. That's not what this nuclear war is going to be like. It's different. The new they're different. They're more advanced than they have been. So we're coming into some crazy things. They're going to hear some crazy stuff that's going to try and I know there's a push still on COVID, wanting to put money towards COVID. The war energy is taking over from COVID. Yes, they're still going to try and mandate some certain things, but it's going to come to a point where um, some people won't be able to do the stuff that they need to do because of being elixired. Just saying. That's the other thing too, so that they have to be prepared for that. And yeah, let's go onward and upwards, people. God is with us. The goddess is with us. If you're wanting to join me for April 4th for the new meditation, it's $25 for the month, 8 o'clock every morning, Monday through Friday. It is recorded. It is live on Zoom, but I do record it and you get a recording sent out. And we are using prayer beads. So, and it is a prayer to the White Tara. So you can let me know if you're interested. So I've been on here. Oh, it's almost 4 o'clock. I should get going. And I'm going to send you guys out so much love and be that shining light that you guys all are. Don't be afraid. We're going to be okay, but it's good to know the truth and understand. If you're not sure of what happened in the depression or things like that, start YouTubing it. There's some real good shows on YouTube. I watch a lot of things to do with the history and stuff on YouTube, right? I'm concerned about the bills they are trying to pass, especially the criminal code and the digital ID. That's coming, Nanette. Unfortunately, the digital ID, I'll tell you this. It's coming. Unfortunately, it's there. You can't get rid of it. They're not going to get rid of it. That is, we are in the Aquarian energy. That's part of the Aquarius energy. It's very scientific. It's very sci-fi. We're coming into a time where there are going to be, unfortunately, digital ID and things like that are going to be promoted, because it's not only going to be within Canada, but it's going to be all through Europe and through the rest of the world. So that's going to be a huge push for it. And how we're doing it. It's just like all the banks are going to be closed down. You're going to have one central bank that's going to be coming in, and it is going to be cryptocurrency. What kind of cryptocurrency? We'll see. They might have two types of cryptocurrency, one run through the government, another one that is like how we have the Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. So learn up about cryptocurrency. If you don't know anything about cryptocurrency, go on YouTube. There's some really fabulous people. There's Crypto Dad out there and a few other people that will go through a step-by-step for you to learn a little bit about cryptocurrency. It is the future, and it's scary, and it's change. There's huge change that's coming in, that's coming forward. The criminal code, yeah, they're making changes to the criminal code. There's a lot of things. But the thing is that's going to be coming in, Nanette, is war. And a lot of that stuff, I mean, they will try and pass it, but we are heading into a time and an era that's going to bring in, um, unfortunately, a nuclear war. And that's where people have to get prepared for as well. And as I said before, Justin Trudeau's chart does not look good. He's got a lot of shit coming up for him. It's already started with the EU Parliament, and you're going to see a lot more coming up for him in May and June. So he's got some shit that's going to be coming up for him, especially in his health chart. So he may not be able to last as long as he thinks he's going to last. But then we don't want Turban Man to take over. Sorry if that offended anybody, but that's what I'm calling him, is Turban Man, because I don't like him. So onward and upward on that one. You guys could send me your likes or dislikes in what I just said, but that is fine. I am not being politically correct right now. Um, Blessings to you all. And may the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless each and every one of you in all that you say and all that you be and all that you do. Let's get prepared and be ready. God bless.